4 days ago, Tuta, the providers of an end-to-end encrypted email service, published a blog post titled "France is about to pass the worst surveillance law in the EU. We must stop them now." So according to them, this French law would allow the government, amongst other things, to have backdoors on all end-to-end encrypted services, remotely activate the microphones and cameras, and tighten up censoring content. This all sounds pretty bad, to say the least. To see where the claims are born from, let's take a step back to November 2023. Due to an alleged rise in drug trafficking in France, I don't live there, a commission was created by the initiative of the right-wing Les Republicans group. In May 2024, this commission submitted a report named "A Necessary Leap Forward: Getting France Out of the Drug Trafficking Trap." The rapporteur, and president of this commission, respectively Etienne Blanc from Les Republicans and Jérôme Durain from Socialist, Ecologist and Republican, decided a few months later to propose a similarly named law following the recommendation of the commission. This bill currently includes 24 articles, all written in French, a language that I sadly do not understand. A few of them are what you would expect, given this context, such as the creation of a National Anti-Narcotics Prosecutor Office or strengthening the Anti-Drug Office, called OFAST. This bill is worked upon by a specific commission, which concluded its work with a report on the 22nd of January 2025, so a month ago, and a few days after that, an amendment was proposed to the law which added one more article, and I quote it from its subject matter. This amendment introduces platforms to implement the necessary technical measures to enable intelligence services to access the intelligible content of correspondence and data transit through the platforms. This is the amendment that Tuta found to be deeply concerning. This amendment forces encrypted messaging apps to decrypt any message at the government request within 72 hours. To enforce this requirement, it introduces a 1.5 million euros or 2% of the company income fine. Indeed, the Senate voted on the new bill from the 28th of January to the 4th of February, and the amendment made it to the Article 8A of the bill. The current French law already requires cryptology services to provide government with access to messages or stuff within 72 hours, but the law also had the following sentence. Authorized agents may ask the aforementioned service providers to implement these agreements themselves within 72 hours unless they demonstrate that they are unable to meet this request. The bill completely deletes this part of the sentence, making the request effectively mandatory. Instead, the sentence "they cannot make any contractual or technical argument that would hinder them" is added. It's not easy to read through the legal jargon here, but especially in French. But this does seem to justify Tuta's worries. Tuta argues that creating government backdoors for end-to-end encryption would also break European data protection laws like GDPR. The GDPR pass, and I'm quoting, the GDPR passed the control over personal data back to the people by forcing companies to protect your personal data, possibly also with end-to-end encryption. Furthermore, Germany's IT Security Act mandates that critical infrastructure, including IT systems, must be protected from cyber threats and unauthorized access, and Germany's Telecommunication Act, TKJ, regulates the security of communication services and data. They also quote the following statement of the European Data Protection Supervisor. Encryption, or the encoding of messages in such a way that only intended recipients can understand them, is one of the main tools to guarantee the security of our information. It is recognized as necessary for the digital economy and for the protection of fundamental rights, such as privacy and free speech. Twitter is not the only company worried about such a development. Signal, the end-to-end encrypted messaging app, has very recently stated that they will refuse to operate in any country which requires backdoors on their encryption. This means that Signal might soon be unreachable for anyone living in France, but also Sweden and the UK, who are passing similar laws. However, this is just Article 8A of the bill. This amendment constitutes what prompted Twitter to speak out. They mentioned that the whole war on drug law is actually full of worrying changes. To do this, they quote a website called La Quadrature du Net. They seem to be an organization that promotes and defends fundamental freedoms in the digital world, placing itself as a quite left-wing and opposing, as an example, AI. According to them, the narco-traffic law would also allow for the remote activation of connected objects. They say this law provides for a new escalation in surveillance by continuing the legalization of spyware, such as the NSO Pegasus or Paragon. It thus authorizes the police to remotely activate the microphones and cameras of fixed and mobile connected devices, such as computer, telephones, to spy on people. The law also significantly strengthens the organized crime regime. The scope of the offenses covered by this regime has steadily growth over the years, affecting more and more people and situations. They claim that in the past, the organized crime regime was used to pursue an activist fighting against the constitution construction of administrative detention center, but I found that very hard to actually verify. Sorry, today is a terrible day. They also claim that it would expand the use of black boxes to analyze the data of all of our communication and exchanges, and that it would tighten up their policy of censoring content on the internet by extending it to publication related to the use and sale of drugs. Now, even though I was able to track down the specific changes that prompted the initial Twitter post, going through all 24 of the bill articles to find the specific changes that La Quadrature du Net is talking about is beyond my skills, and as such, as I'm actually quite disappointed that they did not bother to make any specific link or quote to the bill's text, which would have allowed us to more easily verify their claims. As a result, please take all of La Quadrature du Net words with a grain of salt. However, the requirement of adding backdoors to all end-to-end encryption communication is indeed a reality and a worrying one. The bill was approved in the Senate with a large majority, including both the left and right wings vote. However, it still has to be approved in the National Assembly and they can still amend it. Thus, Twitter and La Quadrature recommend calling your assembly representatives, if you live in France obviously, to let them know that you won't vote for them unless they stop voting for this law. I also briefly mentioned this already, but it's worth noting that this law does not just fall out of a coconut tree. Like, similar attacks towards end-to-end encryption are ongoing in the UK and Sweden. Quoting bleepingcomputer.com, last week Apple decided to pull off its iCloud end-to-end encryption feature, Advanced Data Protection, ADP, from the UK following a secret order from the government demanding the creation of a backdoor to access user data. A similar law proposed in Sweden is poised to grant law enforcement agency access to user messages history from apps like Signals. However, Signals president Meredith Whittaker said in a recent interview that this law would force them to pull their services out of the country entirely. Very, very bad, very bad. I will also quickly mention before I end the video, I know I mispronounce words all the time, but today was a particularly bad day. I will also quickly mention that this video took hours to make. It doesn't look like so, it's a very short one, but I spent actually hours going through various legal French texts. I tried my best, look, and also it requires a lot of equipment, and also now I have a contractor also writing articles. All of this requires money. I don't have any sponsors, so if you could donate something, there's links in the video description and that would help a lot. But you do you. we're trying our best here, and see you tomorrow with a new video.